OPEC and Russia, Saudi Arabia and Russia, what they do get together to do or not do will make all the difference. And they got a lot of wood to chop, as Jackie just talked about. They have both ramped up production massively to over 11 million barrels, both countries. This is a record for Saudi Arabia, record for Russia. Of course, we're at 11. But isn't it amazing that we're sitting here not being sure what to root for in terms of do we want higher oil prices or lower oil prices? That's what we're staring down.
And so help us answer that question. When or why can lower oil prices be a negative, and when can they be a positive? What are we balancing right now?
So it used to be a no-brainer. We wanted low oil prices because 70% consumer-driven economy. It's a tax cut, lower gasoline prices, picks up spirits, and the oil and gas production in the United States was negligible. Mm-hmm. It's still small. It's about 5.9% of the economy. There's different ways of measuring that. But it's certainly an amount that is starting to make a difference, at least marginally on the edges. To wit, the price break that we got from 2014 from $100 all the way down to about 26 in 2016, that gave us about a full percentage point on GDP growth-wise because of the retail impact on consumers. Most of that was all erased by a pullback in spending in the exploration and production sector.
You were with us on Nightly Business Report the other night on your local public television station.
6:30 here in New York.
6:30 in New York, yes.
Channel 13.
And you said you felt like $48 was the support level. I mean, we are holding above that level here, but now Russia's talking about cutting production here. You don't cut in a vacuum, though. If you're cutting production, somebody else might want to pick up the slack there, wouldn't they?
No, and here's what to watch, too. I mean, they're walking a very fine line. President Putin talked about wanting an agreement, aspiring towards an agreement, and they're talking about throwing in with 166,000 barrels of production cut. They are not wanting to go full in like they did the last go-around back in November of 2016. So that's why I think they're going to come up short. And so I still think we have the initial risk down to 48 in terms of price-wise. But if this OPEC meeting falls apart, you could see prices rapidly fall down to potential support down at 42. Now, there is a zone of congestion on the charts. You guys like to talk about that a lot, between 45 and 50, so it'll be a tough slog. But your downside objective is 42.
Let's say we go to 42. Let's say we go to 45. I mean, at what point are the energy companies, the smaller ones that have borrowed very heavily, at what point does their debt come into jeopardy? I mean, at what price of oil? We've seen the movie before where we had the impact on the whole high-grade complex because the energy producers were under such pressure because the price per barrel went so low. Are we close to that at 42 or 45?
We're starting to flirt with it. I think, though, you still would have to see that sustain and get into the 30s. Break-evens have come way down over the course of the past several years. They still do. When this last happened, again, going back down to 26 in 2016, there were a slew of bankruptcies, and the industry got reordered. Now, look, there is the miracle of bankruptcy and the miracle of refinancing, which got done a lot more than I thought it would in the last cycle. We'll see if that can happen again. I'll tell you this, the nuclear option for Saudi Arabia remains just pumping full out and driving this thing down into those low parameters, the 30s, the 20s potentially, to force these guys out of business.
That's a nuclear option, but at the same time, it sounds like the president would like that option to be taken.
He does. I think that would cause an unwinding of a lot of the energy dominance that he also aspires to. So it's a double-edged sword here, and again, like it's hard to know what to really root for almost. But this is a critical OPEC meeting. The rhetoric's going to be flying, and stay tuned.
It is interesting that
traders will belong into this, or?
I think you sell into this rally pop today. The 49 was a little overdone, classic kind of overnight forced liquidation, and now a reversal and short squeeze, but this is a sale here.
I know we have to go, but it is interesting that they started raising production after they canceled or at least delayed the Aramco IPO too, right?
Exactly.
And they wanted $75 going into the IPO. Now they're
with that out the window, let's get as many barrels out the door that we can.